Hi friends, I'm Rohn Strong, and today we're going to be stitching up my double trouble afghan. Now I'm not saying that this afghan is going to get you in trouble, but I mean, I'm not saying that. This is like the cutest afghan, and it's so easy. It's completely beginner friendly. It's a Tunisian crochet pattern, and even if you've never crocheted a single stitch of Tunisian crochet, you can totally do this. You are going to need a special quartered Tunisian crochet hook, and you're going to need two different colors of super bulky yarn. I'm using Woolly's Thick and Quick and a solid and a variegated. I do recommend you use a solid and a variegated. You could use a cake yarn. You can go crazy, do whatever you want. I'm gonna show you how to work this stitch, how to work this afghan, how to customize it, and how to work the border. It's a lot. I know. You can find the free pattern for this afghan in the description down below. While you're there, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. This is going to be an awesome class. I can't wait to get started. We have so much fun in store. All right, so let's talk materials. You're going to need 2 crochet hooks for this afghan. Now, here's a caveat. I'm going to show you how to make this afghan. You don't have to make it in the same yarn I did. You can make it in worsted weight yarn. You can make this in DK weight yarn, baby yarn. Whatever yarn you want to use, you can make this afghan in. The most important thing is to find a hook that plays well with the yarn, which most often is on the yarn label. And you're going to want a standard crochet hook size that's one size smaller. So your Tunisian crochet hook size should be the one that's on the label, the recommended one, which I know is a little strange for Tunisian crochet, but trust me, you'll want to choose the one that's on the label. Then a crochet hook size that's one size smaller. Today, I'm going to be using a 12mm quarter Tunisian crochet hook. This one is from Denise. Those are my favorite Tunisian crochet hooks, and I'll link them in the description down below. And I'm going to be using a USP 15 10mm crochet hook because it's a little bit smaller. We do that because Tunisian stitches often, we need to use a bigger hook to get the Tunisian stitches the same size that the smaller hook will give us. And we want our border to be a little bit tighter, so that helps too. You're also going to need 2 different colors of yarn. If you're doing the super bulky version like I am, 2 colors of super bulky. If you're doing a worsted weight, you can do 2 colors of worsted weight. I recommend a variegated and a solid. It's totally up to you, but I think the variegated and the solid work best because you get this really cool kind of woven look and feel, right? So let's start out by learning how to do our basic Tunisian foundation row. Now, Tunisian double stitch is kind of a unique Tunisian crochet stitch, and that's because it doesn't use a traditional Tunisian foundation row. So every Tunisian row consists of a forward pass and a return pass. The forward pass is kind of like when we leave home and we travel throughout our day. Then we return back home. So that's how I like to think about it. We leave home and then we go back home. We're going to change the color of our yarn before we go back home. So that way, when we get back home, we're a totally different person. Then we're gonna leave home, we're gonna grab the color we were on the previous row and then go back home another person. So we're gonna keep switching back and forth. And when we do that, we get that really cool woven look that this afghan has. So to get started, we're simply going to make a slip knot. And to do that, I just yarn over 2 fingers and then I flip it over. I insert my hook under that on the first bar, I grab the second, I slip it off my hook, and I tighten it on up. I'm just going to chain a small number. You can chain as many or as few as you want. If you want an afghan that's exactly my size, like I said, you can find the free PDF pattern in the description down below. If you want to make this out of worsted weight or DK weight or even, I guess, extra super bulky, that jumbo yarn, you totally could do that if you can find a big enough hook, right? You're just going to chain it till it's the measurement that you want and then add about 1 inch or 2 extra. That's because Tunisian crochet shrinks a little bit once we work our first foundation row. So if you want this to be 36 inches and you're using worsted weight, create a chain that's about 37 or 38 inches and you'll be set. So I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do 8. So to get started, I'm going to yarn over my hook and I'm going to insert my hook into the second chain from my hook, then yarn over and pull up a loop. I'll yarn over and then I'll pull through 2. So So it's kind of like I'm doing a half of a double crochet. Not a half double crochet, but a half of a double crochet. So then I'll yarn over my hook again, and into the next chain I'll insert my hook, then yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. So we're going to leave that last loop of our stitch on our hook all the way across this foundation row. So I'm just going to keep repeating, yarn over my hook, insert into the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over my hook, insert it into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert into the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the next chain, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. So at this point, I should have 8 loops on my hook. If I have 9 loops, I've done something wrong. If I have 7, I've done something wrong. You should have the same number of loops on your hook that your chain was. So if you chain 36, you'll have 36 loops. 150, you'll have 150 loops. You should have the same number of loops as you did chains, okay? So next, I'm going to grab my next yarn, which is going to be my solid color. I start with my variegated, I do my foundation row with my variegated, then I grab my solid yarn. I'm going to simply hold my solid yarn in the back. I'm going to lay my work on top of it, and I'm just going to kind of pinch it with my thumb and my middle finger. I'm just going to hold it right there in place, all right? Then I'm going to grab it with my hook, that new color, and I'm just going to pull it through the first loop of that variegated. So I kind of do a chain 1. Then I'm going to yarn over my hook. I'm going to pull it through the loop that I just pulled through and another variegated. So I pull through 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. The return pass for Tunisian double stitch is always going to be the same. You'll always yarn over, you'll always pull through 2, and you'll always come back home after that return pass with 1 loop on your hook. You always end with 1 loop. If you haven't ended with 1 loop, you probably missed something along the way, and you just need to rip out a few stitches and go back to the beginning. But you should always end with 1 loop, okay? From there, we're just going to chain 1. Now, to work our Tunisian double stitch, we'll yarn over our hook, and we're going to insert our hook into that very first vertical bar. So, when we're working Tunisian crochet, you'll notice that there are vertical bars all the way across. And these vertical bars are where our stitches are worked into. There's a vertical bar right here near the edge of our work. That's right below the stitch that's on our hook. We never work into that vertical bar, ever, okay? Very serious, never work into that vertical bar. We're always going to start at the next vertical bar. That's referred to as our first vertical bar. So I yarn over my hook, I insert from right to left, I go underneath that vertical bar. I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and I'll have 3 loops on my hook, and I do what I did on the previous row, which is just pull through 2. So yarn over your hook into the next vertical bar from right to left and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, right to left, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. Yarn over, right to left, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. Yarn over, right to left, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. Yarn over, right to left, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. Now, we've reached our final stitch. For this, we're going to yarn over, and instead of going just right to left through that stitch, we want to make sure to also go through the color from the previous round as well. So we want to go under that color and the variegated. We want to go through that stitch, and then we pull up a loop, and we yarn over, and we pull through 2. So now, I'm going to grab my variegated from the previous row. I'm going to give it just a little tug to tighten it up a little bit because it does kind of get a little loose. Then I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm ready to work with this new color. I'll just yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and work that all the way across the row. To work my next row of Tunisian double stitch, I'm going to do what I did on the previous row. Yarn over my hook, work from right to left underneath a vertical bar, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over my hook, from right to left under the vertical bar, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm just going to repeat that all the way across. And that's all there is to this entire afghan. You'll change your color before you work your return pass every row. And remember, when I get to that final stitch, like I am here, I'm going to go under the vertical bar, but I'm also going to go under that other color when we kind of pulled it up there to lock it in. And then we yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'll drop that variegated, I'll grab my solid yarn, and then I'll chain 1. And then I yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across. Now when you work the number of rows that you desire, and your afghan is as long as you want it to be, you need to finish off. And to do that, you work your final row. To work your final row, we're going to do what's called a Tunisian slip stitch all the way across. For that, you're not going to yarn over, but you'll just insert your hook from right to left under that first vertical bar, then you'll yarn over and you'll pull up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. A loop that's near the head of your hook and a loop that's on your shaft. You're going to grab the loop that's near the head of the hook and pull it through the loop that was on your shaft. Under the next vertical bar, you'll pull up a loop and pull through. It's just technically a standard slip stitch, but because we're using a Tunisian hook, it's technically called a Tunisian slip stitch. So we got to get technical. And then once you reach the end of your row, you'll simply chain 1 and break your yarn, or cut it like a normal person would. And then we just pull it through and give it a nice tight tug. You'll weave in your ends. This will be your reverse. On the reverse side, you get these nice solid stripes. On your right side, you get this really cool woven look. So to work the edging for your afghan, I'm going to show you on the small sample here, but the principles apply even if it was super big. You're going to put a slip knot on your crochet hook, and we're just going to use our standard crochet hook. We can get rid of our Tunisian crochet hook. Then, beginning in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to insert our hook underneath that very first Tunisian slip stitch that we worked on our final row. We're going to pull up a loop, and we'll join with a single crochet. So let me show you that again. To join with a single crochet, we have the slip knot on our hook. We insert our hook under that slip stitch. We yarn over and we pull up a loop. We have 2 loops on our hook, and we yarn over and we pull through 2. So when you join with a single crochet, that slip knot that we put on our hook ends up being a part of the single crochet. I like that a lot better because it just kind of sits there, and it's easier to like end the round and slip stitch back into that because I know right where I need to be. I'm going to go ahead and work 2 more single crochets into that very first slip stitch. So I should have 3 single crochets, and that is my first corner. Now I'm going to single crochet underneath each of those slip stitches across. Now one of the nice things is, because we work those slip stitches with a really large hook and we're using a smaller hook to do this standard crochet, it makes it a lot easier to get our hook underneath. We're not kind of fighting. Once I get to my very last stitch, I'm going to work 3 single crochets into the last slip stitch. So now what I should have, and stitch count doesn't matter here, so don't worry about that. You should have 3 single crochets in your first slip stitch, single crochet in each slip stitch across, and 3 single crochets in your last slip stitch, all right? So now we need to single crochet along the edge of our Tunisian double stitches. So for every 1 row of Tunisian double stitch, you'll have 2 single crochets. The way I like to figure this out is you can easily look at your Tunisian double stitches and see where you have, where we changed our colors. So when we changed this is our cream color here. Let me grab my hook. You can see my forward pass of my cream color is right here on this row end. And my return pass is right here. So I'm going to single crochet here, single crochet here, then I'll single crochet into this hole here, and then here. So for every like one kind of row of color that we used, you want to place a single crochet. So let's say you worked 100 rows. You would pick up 200 single crochets all the way across. You want 2 single crochets for every row. So I'm going to single crochet. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I did 4 rows. So I need to get 8 single crochets. So there's 1, and I'm just going to go through stitches. I'm not really worried. This is the edging, so we're going to make it look pretty. You're not even going to be able to tell. So there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. And one thing I am doing is because we carried the yarn up the side, I'm being careful to work over those, they're technically called floats, but where we floated the yarn up, I'm working over top of those to lock them in. So there's 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more. All right, so now that I have 8 along the edge, I'm going to turn my work 90 degrees, and I'm going to start working into the opposite side of my foundation row. Into the very first stitch, I'm going to work 3 single crochets. Then I'm going to single crochet in each chain across, and I'm taking care to find like the base of my Tunisian double stitch, which is right here, and see where that hole is. I'm just inserting my hook in there and pulling up a loop and then pulling through 2. And I'm just working into the opposite side of the foundation chain, kind of mirroring those original Tunisian double stitches. Then when I get to, technically my last stitch was this long chain here, so I'm going to find kind of the base of that because we worked into the second chain from our hook, and I'm just going to find that and work 3 single crochets into that. Now I have my other row end, and here I'm just going to single crochet, make sure I have my 8, and work all the way up. Now, this edge is a little bit easier because you'll be able to see exactly, kind of see how there's a stitch here and a stitch here. So we'll just go under both of those. Each row, the stitches are a little bit easier to see on one side than the other. So now we're back to our beginning where our 3 single crochet corner is. We're going to insert our hook into the very first single crochet, and we'll do a slip stitch. And we're going to tighten that beginning slip knot, and then we're going to end off. And just fasten off our yarn. So next we're going to grab our variegated yarn, make a slip knot, and place it on your hook. We're going to basically repeat the same round again. This time we're going to insert our hook into the second single crochet of one of those 3 single crochet corners, and we're just going to join with a single crochet again. So to do that, we have our slip knot on our hook. We insert our hook into that second single crochet, and then we pull up a loop, and we have 2 loops on our hook. Then we yarn over and pull through 2. And then we work 2 more single crochets into that second single crochet of the previous 3 single crochet group. Then you'll simply single crochet across until you get to the second single crochet of that 3 single crochet group and work 3 single crochets into that stitch. And on the afghan, I worked into the back loops. Now this is completely optional, but I liked the way it looked. The corners, I did not work into the back loops. You can see here, I just worked them as standard stitches. But I did like working the single crochets in the back loops because I thought it gave a really good look and feel. So you can work just in the back loop and you get these really pretty ridges. But that's all there is to this Afghan. So one last thing I want to talk about before I go is how to size this. Now, I know I mentioned a little bit of this throughout the video, but I thought it'd be really good to append onto what I said. So this Afghan can be made in any weight yarn with any hook size. It's totally up to you. I do have directions in the blog post, which is linked down below, where you can find lots more information. I even give you some size recommendations. Just remember that the beginning chain that you have, that's how wide your Afghan is going to be. And the number of rows you make, that's how long it's going to be. So the more rows you have, the longer it is, the more chains you have, the wider it's going to be. It is important to know how many chains you're doing, but like I said, kind of just go to a measurement and figure out where you are. It's not that big a deal if it's not exact. You can kind of fudge this to work with you. It's a really basic beginner Afghan. And I just loved making this. I really, really did. And as you saw, it works up so fast, especially in super bulky yarn, but this would work up really fast in worsted weight yarn too. So, but yeah, use any yarn you want. Follow the hook size recommendation that's on the ball band. So if the ball band says to use a K or a J, follow that for the Tunisian crochet part. For the edging, like I said, you need to go down a hook size. For that, you'll just kind of go down a hook size or two from what the package says. So if it says K, go down to a J or an I. If it says G, go down to like a 7 or an F. That'll work out well for you. All right? Remember, if you ever make a Rohn Strong pattern, you ever have any questions, you can leave a comment down below and I'll always answer them. You can also head to Rohn Strong's Crochet Club, which is our Facebook group. We have thousands of members in there that are always willing to help you out. You can follow me on Instagram at Rohn Strong. The links for all of that are in the description down below. I know I said it a couple times during this video, but in case you didn't hear me, you can also find the free PDF for this pattern on my blog, which is linked down below. The blog has a ton of pictures. The pattern has a ton of pictures. It's so easy to follow. And you have this video to help you out along the way. And share this with your friends. I mean, tell everybody about this Afghan. It's so much fun. Like I said, it might get you in trouble because it's so freaking cute. I mean, I can't make any promises. So I hope you had a lot of fun today. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, I hope you have lots and lots of happy stitching. Bye, guys.